this the last season for Kevin Sumlin in Tucson? If the season does not end with a bowl berth, it very well could be. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, the best kept secret in all of college football. Today, bringing you our 2020 Arizona Wildcats college football predictions. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also make sure to check out everything down in our description below, where you can visit our brand new website, thegridironexpert.com, and also follow us on social media over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So guys, Kevin Sumlin gets fired from Texas A&M, gets picked up by Arizona. Now a lot of people thought, well, he's in a much easier conference now. He's a brilliant offensive mind. He can get Arizona to relevancy and playing consistently within the Pac-12. That has not been the case. Arizona went 5-7 in Sumlin's first year and then took a step back last year by going 4-8. They started the season 4-1. Guys, they were 4-1, but lost their final 7 games, the closest margin of defeat, by just 10 points. They only had one possession loss, and that was in the season opener to Hawaii. So Arizona, they started fast, they finished very poorly, and then they weren't competitive. Can that change in 2020? Can they get to a bowl game in 2020 with a very, very difficult schedule? We take a look at their offense here, guys. That's, of course, like we said, that's Kevin Sumlin's forte. That's why he did so well at Houston, why he did so well, or mediocre, I should say, at Texas A&M. And one of the reasons he was brought into Arizona was to kind of rejuvenate this offense. And I will say he kind of screwed the pooch on not being able to capitalize off of Khalil Tate's talent. He had a great quarterback there, a very dangerous dual-threat quarterback there, and while I know Tate battled plenty of injuries, I don't think Kevin Sumlin was able to utilize his full potential during his time in Tucson. But going into this season, Arizona returns 5 starters on that side of the ball. They were 30th in the country in total offense, so not too bad. They've got a very solid quarterback in Grant Gunnell, who threw for over 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns to just 1 interception last year, and had a 65.1% completion percentage. So he's accurate, he's got a strong arm, he was very highly touted coming out of high school, and he put up those stats while battling time with Khalil Tate. He returns his top 3 pass catchers from last season, guys, and Jamare Joyner, who had over 550 yards and 5 touchdowns, and also Brian Castile. So he's got some solid wide receivers. You've got a very talented quarterback there. Sure, you lose a couple key pieces here and there, but the offense should improve, I think, in 2020. It's the defense that needs to improve drastically for Arizona if they want to have any chance of competing in the Pac-12 and just reaching that 6-win threshold. They've got a brand new defensive coordinator in Paul Rhoads, the former Arkansas defensive coordinator, the former Iowa State head coach, and they returned 7 starters on that side of the ball. Problem is they're not very deep. There's not a lot of depth there on the defensive side of the ball. The Wildcats allowed over 35 points per game in 2019. They are 126 in the country when it came to stopping the pass, and they were 120th in the country when it came to total defense. So it's not a lot of hope on the defensive side of the ball. Sure, you've got Colin Schooler at linebacker. You've got Jalen Harris as your sack leader, also at linebacker. But none of that's going to matter if Arizona cannot improve in the secondary, especially going up against some very talented quarterbacks within the Pac-12. So we take a look at their schedule here, guys. A very, very, very big year for Kevin Sumlin. 9-15 in 2 seasons in Tucson. It'd be awesome if he can reach 6 or 7 wins in 2020. We take a look at their schedule. We, of course, have marked down their non-conference wins and losses. We know the Pac-12 has canceled all non-conference games as of this video. But like we've done for every other team, we're going to predict every game for the Wildcats. And those wins and losses will be reflected in our final record projection. So we have them starting 2-0 with a win over Hawaii, a bit of a revenge game after losing to the Rainbow Warriors last year in heartbreaking fashion. Khalil Tate tackled at the 1-yard line. And then, of course, we have them beating Portland State. We have them losing to Texas Tech on the road, but before that, we have them facing off against Stanford, a team they lost to 41-31 last year. So they lost to the Cardinal by 10 last year, and that was not a good Stanford team. That was a Stanford team that was beat up, hit by tons of injuries, a Stanford team that suffered their first losing season since 2008. And I look at Stanford this year, I think they'll bounce back. I think they have a chance to get back to the postseason. They're not Pac-12 title contenders by any means, but if their secondary takes a step forward, if Davis Mills plays just about the same or if not better than he did last year, and very limited time at quarterback, only 6 starts last year, then Stanford and David Shaw will bounce back. They will get to the postseason. And I think even though this game is in Tucson, I like Stanford's defense just a little bit more in this one. It was high scoring last year. It's high scoring again this year, but Arizona falls yet again to the Cardinal at home. They're 2-2. We think they lose to Texas Tech, and then they get their bye week. They take on UCLA here. A UCLA team they beat 20-17. So we're hitting the bulk of conference play here, guys. And of course, with this season and all of the speculation of the Pac-12 doing an all-conference slate, whether it's 9 or 10 games, conference games matter the most. They are going to make or break every single team's season, especially when it comes to bowl hopes. They get their bye week going into this UCLA game. Again, they beat them 20-17 last year. A UCLA team that has done so bad, played so poorly under Chip Kelly. 7-17 in 2 years, including a 4-8 season last year. But all 4 of those wins for UCLA came within the Pac-12 conference. Now look at this. These are 2 horrible defenses, arguably maybe the top 2 worst defenses in the Pac-12 this season. But I like UCLA having home field advantage. And I like UCLA having a little more consistency on the offensive side of the ball. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is back. Dominic Felton is back. And I like UCLA to get this win. Chip Kelly, like Kevin Sumlin, is a guy on the hot seat, a guy that needs to start racking up some wins. Maybe needs to get his team to the postseason. And you look at this game, a game between 2 coaches on the hot seat, the loser could be the one that's out by season's end. Arizona, I think, does bounce back with a win against Colorado, though, guys. I think Colorado is probably set up to be the worst team in the Pac-12 this season. Arizona beat them 35-30 last year. It's only a 5-point victory, but keep in mind that was a very solid Colorado team. They went 5-7. They had Steven Montez. They had Laviska Shenault. The defense was solid, and they had a coach in Mel Tucker that many thought would be the coach of the future for Colorado and could turn them around and make them competitors in the Pac-12 here in a few years. And now he's gone. Now he's gone to Michigan State, left in the middle of February. Colorado is dealing with way too many changes, so much turnover on offense, so much turnover within their coaching staff, and I think with everything that's been going on with the inability to have spring practice and so much uncertainty, the Buffalo struggle mightily, not just in this game, but through the course of the entire season. So Arizona wins that game, and if we conclude the non-conference, they're 3-3. So it's not as great as that 4-1 start they had last year, but they're still just 3 wins away from making the postseason. Problem is the schedule gets super tough starting on October 17th. USC, arguably the favorite in the Pac-12 South. At Washington, always a dangerous team out of the North. Oregon, the reigning Pac-12 champions, the favorite in the North. Utah, another dangerous team, always in the South. A team that won 11 games last year, made the Pac-12 title game. But then an Oregon State team that is improving, and an Arizona State team that Arizona has lost to 3 years in a row. We're going to break it all down, but I think you know where I'm heading with this. We start with USC, and we mark it down as a loss. If Arizona's secondary cannot improve, remember, 126 in the country last year when it came to stopping the pass. If they do not improve, USC will murder them, just like USC did last year, defeating the Wildcats 41-14. Keaton Slovis, Graham Harrell's offensive coordinator, the 6th ranked passing offense in 2019. I don't think the Wildcats have much of a chance in this one, despite it being in Tucson. We've got them falling to USC, and we're going to have them falling 3 straight here to Washington, Oregon, and Utah. And we don't mean to breeze through all of those that quickly, but they fall to Washington. They fell to them 51-27 last year. And while I know Washington's dealing with a lot of turnover themselves, you've got Jimmy Lake, the brand new head coach, getting promoted from defensive coordinator. That's the key right there. is the fact that they decided to promote from within, which kept a lot of the coaching staff intact, which kept a lot of the players intact, and kept the most important side of the ball for Washington intact, and that's their defense. The defense has thrived under Jimmy Lake when he was defensive coordinator. I think they thrived yet again this year, especially with so much uncertainty on offense. The game is in Seattle. Arizona relies so much on their offense. Washington's defense shuts them down, and their offense, now led by Jacob Sirmon, makes just enough plays to win. They then come back home to take on Oregon. We have them losing to the Ducks. Again, no chance in this one. They fell to the Ducks 34-6 last year. This is an Oregon team that is a Pac-12 title contender yet again. Remember, they won it last year, won the Rose Bowl last year as well, and they're college football playoff contenders as well. So Oregon is by and large the biggest favorite, the favorite in the Pac-12 this season. And even though the desert's a difficult place to play, even though Oregon slipped up in the desert last year to Arizona State, the Wildcats are not the Sun Devils. And I don't think Oregon's going to come on the road and lose this game. They have one of the best defenses in the country. So kind of like Washington here, I think the Arizona offense struggles. They then take on Utah, another team that's going to be very difficult to beat, especially in Salt Lake City. The Utes beat the Wildcats 35-7 last year, and while I know Utah loses so much on both sides of the ball, they lose Tyler Huntley, they lose Zach Moss, they lose 3 of their top 5 wide receivers, they lose a lot of people on defense, of the second-ranked defense in the country last year. Kyle Whittingham is entering his 16th year at Utah. He always rebuilds that defense. They're always one of the better defenses within the conference, and I think that Arizona's offense sputters yet again on the road here. So it's not good for an offensive-led team, for a team that's going to be relying so much on the pass, that they face 3 of the better defensive teams within the Pac-12 in 3 consecutive weeks, and 2 of them come on the road. It's just, the way the schedule lines up, it's very unfortunate for Kevin Sumlin and the Wildcats. So after that 3-3 start, as we mentioned, they are now 3-7. So a bowl game is out of the question, guys. A bowl game is not happening. The only question is, can Arizona finish strong and maybe hit a 5-7 record, which would match the best under Kevin Sumlin when they went 5-7 back in 2018. They get their bye week going into Oregon State, a team they lost to by 18 points last year. They lost to the Beavers by 18 points, 56-38, once again showing just how bad this Arizona defense was. And now Oregon State, sure, loses their quarterback in Jake Luton, but they've got a great quarterback waiting in the wings in Tristan Gebbia, a guy that I think will struggle early on but will continue to get better as the season goes on. They've got Jamar Jefferson, one of the better running backs within the Pac-12. And they've got a secondary that I think is extremely underrated. Jonathan Smith doing a very great job with his defense, now entering year 3 at his alma mater. Having said all of that, the game is on the road. I don't really care too much that Arizona's coming off a bye week, because I think at this point, you're starting to see the Wildcats players not care. Eventually, when you struggle for so long and you realize you have nothing left to play for, you kind of start to give up. People don't want to believe that. Fans don't want to believe it. Coaches don't want to believe it. But I do believe we see it here on November 21st. I believe that the Wildcats fall to the Beavers. And I believe they fall to their in-state rival in Arizona State for the 4th straight year. They lost to the Sun Devils 24-14 last year. Remember, we said that out of the 8 losses, or I should say the final 7 losses in the midst of that 7-game losing streak for Arizona, only the closest loss was by 10 points, and Arizona State was one of them, losing to the Sun Devils by 10. And I look at Arizona State here, guys. They are Pac-12 South title contenders. The separation between the 2 in-state schools are drastic. You've got Arizona, who's been struggling mightily, continues to decline. Arizona State is on the upswing with Herm Edwards and Jaden Daniels, one of the better quarterbacks in the Pac-12, and as we've said, one of the better young quarterbacks in the country. So he returns for another year, just a sophomore this season. The defense returns 7, so I think Arizona State owns the quarterback edge. I think Arizona State owns the defensive edge. The only thing they don't own here is home field advantage, and this is still an in-state game, and I don't think it would matter that much anyways. So having said all of that, the Sun Devils win this game, and we've got Arizona and the Wildcats going 3-9. Kevin Sumlin going 3-9, which would bring his overall record to 12-24, guys. 12-24 in 3 seasons down in Tucson. That's good enough to get you fired. And more than likely, it will get him fired. This is a big year for Arizona, and they have the talent offensively, like we said, to put up some points. But that's not going to matter if Paul Rhoads is unable to fix the defense. And while many will say, well, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. They're not going to go 3-9. Look at the schedule and tell me who they can beat. Maybe they take down Stanford. Maybe they take down UCLA. But once you hit this USC game on October 17th, the schedule gets absolutely brutal, and I believe you see a very large talent gap between the Wildcats and the rest of their conference slate. So I think you're looking at 5-7 as the best case scenario for Kevin Sumlin and the Wildcats, but we have them continuing to decline here. 5-7 in year 1, 4-8 in year 2, 3-9 in year 3, possibly the final year for Sumlin. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also make sure to check out everything down in the description below, where you can visit our new website, thegridironexpert.com, and also follow us on our social media pages over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.